Hello there, happy Wednesday again, and welcome to another episode of the Female Guides Requested podcast. I'm your host, Ting Ting. I'm still in Pacific Northwest, but will be heading back to Las Vegas soon. Today's guest is Lani Chapko. She is an AMGA certified rock guide and Alpine guide. She is based in Index, Washington, and owns a guide service, The Climbing School, with her partner Sam. Lani and I first met several years ago while guiding in Red Rock. Since then, I've been following her adventures on Instagram. She has done amazing feats on El Cap and extended her skills and climbing powers beyond Yosemite, including a first ascent of a grade 6 route on Mount Index and a 512D big wall free climb in Mexico. I was glad that I finally had a chance to interview Lani at her small shed in Index. She was unassuming, and perhaps because we both went to engineering school, we shared many viewpoints and troubleshooting insights on technical systems and in general how to be a better track climber. I felt as if I found a long-lost friend. We talked about her little bumpy ride entering the guiding realm, the excitement and challenges she had experienced becoming a business owner, her outlook on how to make guiding more professional and sustainable, and more. I had a great time talking with Lani and found new nuggets re-listening and editing the podcast. I bet you will enjoy our conversation too. Hi, Lani.
Hi, Ting Ting.
So, welcome to the show, Female Guides Requested podcast. So, thank you for letting me use this space. You have this very little nice space in Index, beautiful here.
Yeah.
So, when did you? Well, this is your property, right?
Yeah.
So, when did you get this property?
2 summers ago.
Two summers ago,
or 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, what's the reason that you decide to settle? Well, you are not quite settled, right? You're still traveling a lot.
Yeah.
But eventually, this is gonna be quite a big base for you.
Yeah. A couple of reasons. The one, my family and my partner Sam's family both are based in Washington, so it's nice to be close-ish to them. And I love the climbing in Index. I think it's maybe the best climbing in the world.
In the world,
maybe. It's a big statement,
but you climb quite a lot in the world, so I would take very highly about this. Yes,
but yeah, I love the climbing in Index. Really like being in Washington in the summers. The summers are really nice here. And I was kind of telling you the story earlier. We were deciding between a couple different climbing areas that we wanted to be based out of. We still both really enjoy traveling. But let's see. Yeah, but there was actually a property up for sale for something that we could kind of afford in Index. And we were kind of jokingly like, oh, maybe we should just buy it and like commit to Index. And we're kind of joking about it and unsure. And then that property sold and we were both like, oh, we actually really wanted to be an Index, and we're kind of sad that this property sold.
Oh.
And so then we were like, okay, we're gonna start looking at other options in Index
so
that we can afford. Yeah,
kept your eyes open for new
and
available.
It's like one of the last few mountain towns as guides that we could really afford to buy property in.
I see. You also consider like Bishop? And
yeah, we were thinking about Bishop and
was it expensive?
Vegas. Bishop is pretty expensive, and the water rights are a little hard if you want to build your own
water
thing.
Right? I've never thought about.
Yeah,
yeah,
because we could not afford to buy a house.
Right.
We kind of realized we were going to have to start from scratch.
Yes. And how about Vegas?
And we were also thinking about Vegas, but
But Vegas, then you're farther away from the Alpine.
Exactly. Yeah, farther away from the Alpine, farther away from family. So
Right.
I think Index was a good choice.
And,
but yeah, and I love it here. I think I'm very happy with our decision.
Awesome. And both of you and your partner, Sam, you are both rock guide and Alpine guide, right?
We're both rock guides. I'm a fully certified Alpine guide as well, and Sam is just advanced, not just. I should not say just. So he has not taken his Alpine exam yet. Yeah.
Great. Then, I mean, I live in Seattle for a couple years. I think it's a great place for Alpine climbing for sure. Yeah, but right now I'm mainly a rock climber, so it's the season's a bit short.
Yeah, the season is definitely shorter.
Yeah, but I heard that the dry months now is a bit longer nowadays. Recent years.
Yeah, in recent years, definitely the summers have been getting hotter and drier, which I've been experiencing. Okay. Yeah, but the climbing season has gotten longer, which is kind of nice.
Right. So you
it used to, like, we've always kind of been here May through September, but usually May would be a little rainy and September would be a little rainy, and it would be kind of nice in between. And it's now starting to be that, like, the full May through September is actually quite nice here.
And sometimes maybe October.
Maybe sometimes, yeah, in October too.
Wow, so it can be actually quite long. But probably it's a little bit harder to schedule a course then, because then you're
unsure, right? Yeah, exactly.
So your main time, say, index will probably still focus on June, July.
Yeah, June, July, August are like the bulk of our season. Yeah, and actually it's kind of nice to have a little less work in May and September because the weather's usually a little cooler here, so when it is good, actually the
sun temps.
Yeah, exactly. Good sun temps.
Yeah, I heard the story of tasking was calling this boy to check out the condition of City Park and stuff. Yeah, definitely. You want the best condition, you want to send hard. How did we even know each other? I think I met you in Red Rock.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I was actually guiding physical graffiti and you were guiding Big Bad Wolf. And I was there are not very many other female rock guides in general. And I was like, oh my gosh, you must be Ting Ting, held across at you or something. So I've heard great things about you, but I hadn't actually met you at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that in the past I just there's so many people climbing, and then turns out that once you are in this field long enough, especially in guiding, that I won't say that I know all the female guides, obviously, but I know a lot of them.
Yeah. It's kind of nice that it's a small community.
It is. Yeah. So how long have you been guiding?
6 years now.
6 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it would be longer. So how did you start?
Let's see. I started climbing in college. I actually went to school for engineering.
Engineering?
Yeah.
What kind of engineering?
Mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering. So you can design climbing gear, that type of thing?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Went to school for that, got really into climbing really quickly, and was kind of burnt out on engineering in school and all of that by the end of college. And was like, maybe I'll try out guiding.
Okay.
And literally, I think I had started actually trad climbing a year before I got my first guide job, which was kind of insane. No experience, no guiding experience. Hadn't even taken an SPI course.
Okay.
Got hired by a company in Washington. With a little bit amount, I had climbed Mount Baker, climbed a couple of volcanoes in South America, a little bit of Alpine experience, a little bit of trad climbing experience, but was definitely thrown into it a bit.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was 6 years?
It was 6 years ago, 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
6 years of 2017. I actually don't quite remember the environment, the guiding environment back then. So they would just throw you with no.
I shouldn't say we were just thrown into it. There was a guides training as part of the company. It was it was before obviously SOP existed and those kind of more mandated guidelines. And I think also because the company was trying to expand the number of women guides they had, they hired people with maybe less experience. And like, it was definitely challenging because all of the other men guides that were hired at that time had a lot more experience. Most of them had rock guide courses or alpine guide courses or had worked for another company before. Right. But it was definitely before you had to have like experience to get into guiding.
Right. So basically you have some in-house training.
Yeah, there was an in-house training, and then I think I had to shadow 2 trips or something with senior
with
guides.
site supervision.
Yeah, but it was challenging. Like, I feel like a lot of women tend to feel like they have to be almost over prepared for things to
I certainly felt that way before, yes.
You know, like to like, especially in male dominated things, to kind of like hold their place and like be over prepared and like do really well at things in order to like prove themselves. And I definitely felt that way, and it was hard like not feeling prepared and being like, oh, this is something I'm new at, and like, yeah, that was challenging.
That kind of reminded me, because I was in computer science before, and then you were saying that you were in mechanical engineering, and was it also kind of man-dominated environment
too? For sure. The college I went to actually was 50-50 women and men, which is pretty cool. It was Harvey Mudd College, which is like STEM, all science, math kind of stuff based. But yeah, so that was kind of cool about that college. They've made a pretty big effort to really include women in engineering. But most of like getting jobs and whatnot in those fields are still very heavily male dominated.
I see. Yeah. And then 2017 you were saying.
Yeah.
I would say the guiding community might be even more screwed. I mean, the ratio.
For sure.
Than the engineering.
And I think that was like partially like a lot of respect for the guide company I started out with for trying to get more women into guiding and hiring more women. But also I felt like I didn't really have necessarily the resources to like succeed. Kind of being thrown into just like guiding without a ton of experience, and then like not a ton, there was like the training and then like a few kind of shadowed days, but then it was like
that you are facing
then
your clients.
All of a sudden you're like kind of off on your own, and you're like, wow, not off on your own, like you're still working with other guides and stuff, but it was I think a little bit more mentorship or experience would have been helpful.
And then how long did it take you to feel like, okay, finally I settled into the guiding better role?
Yeah, so I actually was pretty lucky to like, through a friend of a friend, towards the end of that summer, meet a couple guides that were prepping for their Alpine exam and needed someone to be like a mock client. And so I was like psyched to climb and get some guiding experience, and like followed them around a bunch of routes in the Cascades, and definitely felt like I learned a lot more from them than
I see.
Yeah. So that was very lucky.
And then how did it prompt, because right now you're a rock guy, you're Alpine guy, certified by the AMGA. So when did you start that process? Is that because eventually your company required that, or you also initially took those things for your own? Yeah,
I think once I had, it was after, so I worked that summer. I actually worked after that summer. I was like, I should try engineering.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for basically, that fall, winter, spring, like almost a full year at an engineering job before, deciding I was like wanted to go back to guiding. But during that time, I think I took a week off to go take my rock, or 10 days or whatever, to go take my rock guide course.
Yes.
Because I was like, this is something I want to try to make work. And then within that first 6 months, basically took a rock guide course, Alpine guide course, advanced rock guide course.
Whoa.
Like just like okay, I'm going full in on this.
Nice.
Yeah, so then I think it was kind of after that next summer I worked for a company down SWS based in Shasta, and they also do some stuff in the Sierra, so kind of down California based. And felt like I got a little, that's where the guides that I had kind of climbed with the summer before, they had worked for them, and like felt like I got a little bit more mentorship through that, and then taking a bunch of AMGA courses felt like I was much more prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just kind of curious, like compare your mechanical engineering job and guiding. What's the big deciding factor that you prefer guiding?
I think it was the flexibility, which, we kind of talked about this, but being able to travel more, being able to like, work for a season guiding, doing a lot, but then be able to take a month or two off to go do other things.
Right.
And also I didn't love sitting at a desk. Like I found like half the time I was like starting to look at climbs I wanted to do rather than actually working, and you're like, this is not right. Sustainable.
So does that mean that at that time that you were sitting at a desk and then but you have a lot of, say, personal travel and climbing goals, so you didn't need more time?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. I also the company I was working for was, it was like a big biotech company with a lot of bureaucracy and like your classic, I don't know. I kind of felt like my life was like The Office. Have you seen that movie?
No, actually.
Yeah.
So what is it like? Yeah.
It's like there's kind of a joke in The Office where he was like, I have like 8 different bosses and I like don't really actually do any work, but like I like, because there's so much bureaucracy to like go through to get anything done and everything. And I was like, that's kind of how I felt. It was like the company, the like end product of the company was really cool. Like it was, they created flow cytometers, which like sorted and counted cells to diagnose like HIV/AIDS and cancer and like these like things that are like kind of cool applications.
Certainly, yes.
That you just like feel super removed from.
Yeah, from the day-to-day grind.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways.
Yeah, I that kind of remind me, because I got into computer science because I really like sci-fi, and I just think that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, all the applications are cool. Yeah.
Well, like I think I really liked the hands-on part of engineering. Like in college, I really liked working in the machine shop and like building. I actually was really into canyoneering in college and built my own, like machined my own rappelling device for canyoneering and like loved that. But then as soon as like when I realized like, oh, I'm not actually going to be like hands-on building things at an engineering job like as much, or at least it will take a really long time to get to that point where you get to kind of do the more design things.
I see.
I was like, I don't know that this is quite for me.
So like right now, like guiding is more like hands-on.
Yeah, exactly. Guiding is like super hands-on, which is awesome. And
how about the aspect, like how much human interaction did you have on your mechanical engineering job?
Definitely less.
A lot less.
Yeah. You're still working with people in the office and whatnot, but it wasn't it wasn't quite like guiding.
I see. So how does the human interaction thing that you feel about guiding?
I really like it. And I mean, I feel like a lot of people that want to hire guides and come out climbing, like usually they tend to be cool people that are, people who like to climb, especially who want to like learn how to like climb on their own and take courses and that kind of stuff. Like people just tend to be excited, and
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, I think most, if not all, my past clients, I think I was pretty good things about them.
Yeah.
Well, you're still traveling a lot, right?
Yeah.
So you obviously still have your personal things to do with.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of what I'm pretty interested about, because I saw the Instagram that you and Sam, your partner, that I forgot how long ago was that you free climbed the free rider on AMGA.
Yeah.
I think it's a big project.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So because for me, I always feel I struggle with personal climbing and guiding.
Yeah.
So how did you get the chunk of time, even just training, and then also you have to spend a lot of time on the walk too.
Yeah, it was challenging. We had actually gone up the route with a friend. It was right after we had worked for like 9 months in Red Rock, and we're a little burnt out, and we're like, okay, we're gonna take a month off, go to Yosemite before we start our summer season in Washington. And our friend was trying to free the freerider at the time, and we were like, we'll go up and support you and like check it out, because it's always been a dream of mine, but it feels like it's forever away. And we like got up there and we were like, oh, if we like dedicated some time to training for this, like this is something we could do. Like not like, it still feels like a very hard goal, but not as much of the like, oh, that's like, you know, 5 years down the line kind of a goal. Like oh, this could happen. It just would require taking some time off from guiding, basically. And so basically after that, we were like, okay, we'll instead of working our normal like 4 to 5 month season in up in Washington, we were like, we're only going to work for 2 months, and then we're going to take 3 months off to basically train for this thing.
So that 3 months you basically just dedicate.
Yeah, we were just dedicated to training.
So did you just, okay, I'm gonna guide and save a chunk of money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's not easy to do that with, you know, like guiding is nice in a lot of ways because you can, especially on the off seasons, take some time off, but it's definitely not easy to live off of a guide salary and only work part of the year. So it was definitely kind of a moment of like, well, this is something that means a lot to us. We can, you know, make it work, and then we'll go back to guiding again in the winter or whatever.
Then I'm kind of curious. So in the past, I worked for Signals that for quite a while, and then their thing is like, okay, the summer is the kind of peak thing.
Yeah.
But then if you don't work the summer courses, then you probably can get work in the shorter seasons. Yeah. So when you take that 3 months, did you worry that if you say you don't commit to a certain guiding service for a while, would that be easy to get back to the work afterwards?
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was definitely a little challenging. That was actually around the time when we decided to start our own guide service, was during that like
so you can like have more flexibility.
I'm like, I think I'm trying to remember actually. I think we were kind of just like, we'll figure, like, this means enough that we'll figure it out. But it is like, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but it is hard to fully train while you're also guiding, and like the fact that we did have to basically take off these 3 months was challenging.
Definitely. Because I was like, one of the episodes I interviewed Miranda Oakley, and then she did a lot of great things on the wall, and then she said, but it's never during the guiding season. Right. So it's kind of like you can accomplish both. When you are working.
And I think I'm always like, it's getting better and better, the balance of like, I mean, this gym helps.
Just so for all the listeners, I'm like sitting in the gym, this pretty cool moon board and all this little rock climbing walls. Exciting.
But I think I am continuously finding the balance, and that has always been kind of a struggle of like, how do I kind of train for my personal climbing goals that I am excited about, but also guide, you know, and make a living off of guiding. And I think I mean getting into bouldering a little more has definitely helped with that, because it's a little easier after a hard days of guiding to be like, okay, I'll go like boulder for like an hour. It doesn't have to be like a really long thing of like, okay, we're gonna go to the crag and we're gonna, you know, it's gonna take, or go multi-pitch climbing or whatever. It's a lot.
And and that's come back. You mentioned that's also when you and Sam thinking about starting your gig business. I was wondering that, but I probably have to ask even more people about this is in the guiding community, because there's no set path of how you're gonna advance your career. So I'm like wondering whether for it's very hard to be a independent guy in the States because all this permitting and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm always wondering whether it's either at some point, if you really want to continue a guiding career, you kind of have to start your own business.
Yeah.
What do you think so far?
It was definitely the right choice for us. And it helps that a lot of the permits in Washington are easier to get, and this is like our busiest season is while we're up in Washington.
So your main gig is in Washington.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then maybe it would probably help to go in a little bit to that. But yeah, our main like really busy season is kind of May through September, with especially June through August in Washington being particularly busy. And then the rest of the year we kind of bump around picking up some work here and there as we, travel to kind of the places we're excited about traveling to, like Red Rock or Potrero or that kind of a thing. And so it's definitely nice that the permits in Washington are a little easier to get.
So what's usually how's the turnaround timing? So you put in the
about
application?
a month.
A month. Oh, so it's actually really not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And they're not restrictive. There are like Leavenworth and Washington Pass and Rainier, which we're not that interested in guiding Rainier, but are the only places that are really restrictive about how many guide companies can guide there. And the same like 3 guide companies that started guiding there in like the 80s are the only ones that have permits there, basically. Yeah. Yes. They're not about to give up those permits. But
like state parks.
Yeah. And we've done a little bit of work in like Moab and some other areas that are easier to get permits in.
Right.
And internationally, we're kind of starting to move towards maybe a little bit more international work, just because other countries are a lot less complicated with their permitting.
Yeah, so talking about international work, I'm also kind of curious that, so I know both of you did quite a lot in Potrero Chico.
Yeah.
But I also see a lot of guys there. Is it a very competitive guiding venue?
There's not. I guess it maybe it is. We definitely don't work a ton when we're down there, but we do work some. And it is nice that it's like pretty chill. Okay,
and then basically to operate there right now, probably Mexico is not.
Yeah, Mexico doesn't. You don't need a permit. They don't really care whether you have liability insurance. It's really just for your sake that you want to have liability insurance.
Suit you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like really, anyone could go down there and guide if they really wanted. See. But
because another international destination I saw on your website is thinking about Clinos.
Yeah, I don't know that we're gonna do Clinos, but we're trying to do Spain this year.
Yeah. Okay.
And we actually have a Spanish.
Regulation?
You have to work with a Spanish guide.
Okay.
Like at least there has to be at least one Spanish guide on your trip. So we actually are working with a friend of a friend, who knew a Spanish guide, and he seems awesome, and we're gonna work with him while we're there.
And then. So as long as you have a Spanish guide.
Yeah.
And has a permit or whatever.
It's not, I think, a permit issue. It's more of a like working in, like a lot of places you need a work visa to work there. It's more of that kind of issues.
I see.
Because Spain isn't one of the like IFMGA countries of Europe. Like I think a lot of people think of Europe and they're oh, you have to be IFMGA, but it's more like France, Switzerland, Italy, like that kind of whole clump of countries that you have to be IFMGA.
Oh, because I also see a lot of people operate in Clinos.
And so Greece is another one that's a little more of a free-for-all.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then they probably also, whichever country, depends on whether you can legally work.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
I see. So those kinds of different countries might have different requirements.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Spain.
And I guess I should preface all of this with, it was really helpful when the CGC had...
Yeah, the CGC is certified guides
co-op.
Yes.
Yeah. When basically, previously the certified guides co-op, you bought into it and then paid a little bit per user day, and they had a bunch of permits and insurance. And that was really helpful for getting our business started because permits and insurance are expensive and a lot of work to do. It would have been a lot of upfront, both time and money to start our business. So becoming certified guides and then being able to work through the certified guides co-op was really nice. And now we have our own permits and insurance, but it would have felt like a very big leap without that.
Right.
Because we had no idea whether it was going to work out or not. It was definitely a bit of a leap of like...
Yeah, but you kind of have to do it now because CGC right now has some complications.
Yeah. Which it sounds like maybe they'll kind of figure out something. Yeah. But it's...
But we just don't know how long it's going to take.
Who knows what's going to happen with that.
And then you still have to operate.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
So right now, what do you think the ratio that you work for yourself, I mean your own guiding service versus working for
other guiding services? In Washington, mostly working for ourselves. I also do a little bit of work for Never Stop Moving, which is an all women's and genderqueer guide service based out of Washington. But for the most part, just working for ourselves. And
then compared to in the past, you mostly work just for
other companies.
Service, except for the one that CGC can.
Yeah.
Did you see kind of dramatic difference? What's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is the pay.
Okay.
I guess. And partially also being able to set our own schedules. I mean, some of it is just when work comes in and you kind of have to accept it, but a little bit also picking the work that we are excited about working, instead of getting burnt out on trips for other companies that maybe you're less excited about working.
Right, so you can be more selective, your schedule is more flexible. How about the office stuff though? Yeah,
the office stuff, it's definitely work. I honestly kind of needed a project for when I wasn't climbing. I was realizing I needed something to do on rest days and stuff, and it actually is it's cool to put time into something that you're excited about. So the office stuff hasn't been too bad so far. Usually I just do it on rest days and whatnot, and it's it's not too bad. And then even though you are making more money, because you're making kind of the full amount minus what goes to permits and insurance, instead of a lot of guide services have a lot of overhead. Definitely you are kind of not factoring in all of your office hours.
Right. And it definitely also depends on how much you want to grow this business.
Yes.
Right. So right now you are still small business.
Yeah. And we will right now our plan is to kind of stay small. Yeah.
Because I certainly, I work for guys services and certainly can see how much paperwork, administrative goes back and forth and stuff. Yeah.
And there's a reason why a lot of guide services have a lot of overhead, because there's so much administrative work that goes on behind the scenes. And that's kind of why I think, at least for now, we want to stay pretty small.
Right. And then, but how small? Do you mean small, just you and Sam, or you think the potential you will hire guides?
I don't know that we will hire guides. It will probably stay kind of me and Sam plus anyone anyone who wants to kind of work through our permits, bring their own clients basically. But who knows? This is all definitely. It's all a bit of a learning process.
So, but in any way, you think this is a good decision?
Yeah. I've been pretty happy with it. There's downsides to everything.
For sure.
There's definitely the stress of especially leading into the summer season where we really need to work. It's a little okay, is there gonna be enough work to fill our season? Whereas a lot of times when you sign on with a guide service, they guarantee some number of days. Maybe. In Washington, like there were some summers when I was working like 20 to 25 days a month for other guides, yeah, which was too much. But so there is a bit of like uncertainty of just like, is this actually gonna work, and are we gonna get people? And so far it's actually worked out pretty well.
Awesome.
And then also, you know, like I think I put a lot more of myself into each guided day of just like real, you know, because it's my company, I don't know, like I really want to make sure it's a great day for people, which I was doing anyways, but I feel like it like has almost become, you're like, I've sold this trip to these people, like it wasn't like some guide service selling this trip, like I'm like, yeah, exactly, like I'm like, okay, it has to be like, I feel like it has to be really good.
Yeah.
Which is a little stressful. And I definitely find myself like, you know, sometimes, you know, you're thinking about work a lot more, I think, of like, oh, I have to respond to this person, this email, you know, like those types of things. So that's definitely a little more stressful than just your normal like guide service hands you the clients and, you know, you meet them at 8 a.m. and go out or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. When I talk to some people, and then they used to be guys that working for other guiding services, and then they eventually do their own thing.
Yeah.
Seems like most of them are really happy about.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's nice to be able to kind of work the work we're excited about. We can work a little less too because we're making a little bit more money, and that makes
per unit.
Yeah, per unit. So then it's like, it feels like we can offer a better product because we're a little less burnt out. Because a lot of times, like I definitely noticed in the summers when I was working for other companies and working like 20 to 25 days a month, like by the end, you're like kind of tired. And you're like, oh, these last couple courses, I'm just like trying to get through. So yeah, being less burnt out, I think also is just a better product in guiding, and hopefully guiding will kind of go in more in that direction. But
I see. But as far as I can see, that both you and Sam have probably many years of guiding ahead of you.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, that's the goal.
I'm just saying that both of you are very invested in this profession.
Yeah.
So you plan to do it in the long term.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. Even if at some point I took a step back from doing quite so much, I find it rewarding as a like thing to do. So I would probably still want to do at least some of it.
So what's your favorite part of guiding?
I mean, I definitely love the instructional part of guiding more.
Yeah.
So we do,
I mean, compared to just taking people up
stuff. Yeah, like getting to see people do their first trad lead is so cool.
Yeah, you're like, that's one of my favorite.
You're gonna get
the skill based.
Yeah, stuff. Exactly. Yes. Like you're gonna go take this and go on so many cool adventures and like
open up.
I'll like follow you on Instagram and see all my clients' adventures or whatever. Or also I really like teaching big wall courses just because I like big walling, and it's a hard thing to get into, and
I think
like making it more accessible is
I think not. I mean, obviously, like if you approach guys, they probably can like teach you big wall, but I don't see a lot of organized courses out there. We've
obviously done a fair bit, so
and Index is a great place.
Index is an awesome place to learn to big wall.
Actually, my first A climb is City Park.
Nice.
It took me 2.5 hours. That was my very first one.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the climbs in Index were originally 8 climbs, so they all are
true.
Yeah.
And so I actually don't see a lot of promoting of your I mean, occasionally I see, but it's not like you put a lot of effort on marketing quite yet.
Yeah, we're kind of still figuring that out. So far we've actually, at least in Washington, have been okay at
Because I was just wondering how do people find you? Is that from the past connection or?
Some of it is kind of word of mouth type things of like our friends being like, oh, you should hire Sam and Lani, or previous clients being like, oh, these, you know, you should hire these people. Some of it, I think we've kind of worked on the like SEO, Google marketing side of things. I like am really bad at Instagram marketing.
I'm also really bad.
I can't say that I've like done great with that. But and it seems to have kind of worked out for Washington. We definitely need to work on it for getting more year-round work in other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know whether that's, I think there are less, especially in Index, there are not as many guides doing like courses and that kind of stuff, but in Washington in general. So maybe that has been why we've done really well in Washington, or just knowing people and word of mouth kind of thing.
I don't know. I think Index is great.
Yeah, Index is awesome.
Yeah. I really like Index, especially like recent years is more development with easier climb.
Yeah.
than the traditional crazy sandbag climbs.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten better and better as like people have cleaned because it's there's like tons of rock there. It's just all covered in moss, and it just takes putting in the effort to clean the easier routes. And basically, I mean, I think it was partially a lot of the people, you know, years ago who, when they wanted to climb an Index, they all climbed really hard, so those were the routes that they cleaned. And now as you know, climbing is changing and there are more people getting into it, more people want to climb easy things, and now those are the routes that are getting cleaned, which is awesome.
Yeah, and actually certainly a good like 5 easy crest can be really fun. Too.
Yeah.
True. So at least right now you have enough work. So it really depends on like how you want to like steer this business.
Yeah. And we'll still work a little bit for other companies the rest of the year, like especially down in Red Rock or
because Red Rock you can't have your own permit.
Exactly. And work for some other companies when we're in Potrero as well. So it's kind of the rest of the year is a little bit more of a mix of things.
Because that's kind of like
stuff together.
My dilemma, because I live in Vegas. Because right now Vegas is a good place if you want to climb hardcore climb.
Yes.
But in terms of working, it's a little bit hard because I always have to work for other guys. So it's just like, okay, how am I gonna work a bit less and a little bit more?
And it's too bad because I love Vegas and would probably spend more time there if the permits weren't so hard.
Wow.
Because the climbing is so good in Red Rock.
it is good. Yeah,
even the limestone is pretty good. Like
the limestone is good. Yes. If I'm not here right now, I'm climbing Mount Johnston. So it seems like what I see is like Moab area, like Front Range, I think, and also Washington and Joshua Tree is that's probably the majority guy service I see. I think it's permit. Definitely permit.
It is kind of a bummer that a lot of the just guide services that have been around for so long are the ones that have the permits, and that they kind of get locked into this permit and then no one else can guide there. And hopefully it sounds like there's some advocacy to get that to change, but it might be a slow process.
Right. So right now for say if you want to be independent guys, so right now since CGC is not an option. So it would be more like if they don't start their own business, more of like travel and guest guiding.
And guest guiding through other people.
Right. Another question that I want to talk about this that we were just talking about, but it's not really related to guiding.
Whatever.
But, I'm just talking about the climbing pants.
Yes.
Because I was just talking with Lani that I want to pick up sewing because I just have too many holes. I have to ask people to fix, and I also never be able to find climbing pants that fit me. So and then Lani also have similar issue.
Definitely the finding climbing pants that I like and fit, and then last along, because I like sucks. We pay a lot of money for a nice pair of pants, and then they get holes in them.
Yeah, because
I end up wearing a lot of like $10 leggings basically because it like go through pants so fast.
Okay. Yeah. Because you mentioned something about like legging. Did you say there's something that's not professional?
Yeah, well, I mean, even in like the kind of the base level guide courses, they start off with this like, you need to be super professional. You can't have any holes in any of your clothing, and like this is exactly what a guide should look like.
Right.
And
yeah,
you're
I wonder what's really an image that we need to present.
Yeah. And I think there is some sense of like, you want to be a professional, right? Like this is a profession. And we're kind of trying to make guiding more professional. I think this like idea of like a guide has to look one particular way. Like, sometimes you're at the crag and you like see someone and you're like, they're a guide because they're like dressed in a certain way. I don't know.
I think long time ago that a very long time ago that guys might look like a dirtbag even. On the rock climbing round. But then at some point they probably say, oh, you should not look like a dirtbag. You should update your gear.
Yeah.
But then it's like those hardware you can last for a long time.
Yeah. So you go through things really quickly guiding because you're always using them.
Right.
And yeah, it's challenging to like, well, one, I mean, we were kind of talking about this, but like one, just like keep up with paying for new gear constantly. But also just like the like kind of the whole like consumerism thing of like, oh, I have a pair of holes or a hole in my pants, like let me throw it away. And you're like, well, those pants are still gonna work. Or same thing with puffies and like
so that's kind of made me wonder like what exactly is professional outfit. Like do you when you go out and guide, do you really pick and choose what you wear?
I mean, I usually tend to pick it more off of what's functional. Like I still really like, I think a lot of guides wear sun hoodies, and I do really like sun hoodies because they like cover, keep you protected from the sun.
Pretty crucial.
They're like a very functional piece of clothing. Yes. But pants, I kind of go back and forth with the like, especially starting our own guide service, I feel a little less weird wearing like leggings and stuff, but I definitely also still feel sometimes kind of weird about it and will wear normal pants. But I do have trouble finding pants that I really like. Huh. And also,
so I visited this Goodwill in Redmond, I think, Washington. And then they have like quite a few varieties of active wear. Yeah. But the funny thing is, for women's active wear, I actually can't. They're all leggings. Yeah. So I personally don't actually like leggings because I think over time they stretch a lot. Then I can't. So they will pass my ankle. Yeah. So. Yeah. But then I was just like, can I find something that's not legging in the active wear? Yeah. So it seems like leggings are pretty normal. Active wear in the mind of general public, so I don't know why it's not professional. Do you?
I don't really know why either. I feel like it's
Maybe is that because like the guy service is mostly guys, so they don't wear leggings?
That might also be exactly like it's like not what a bunch of like guys don't wear leggings, so it's then like kind of projected of like, oh, it's weird when people wear leggings while guiding. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. But I just kind of.
Or also, I do also sometimes like when I'm working with a lot of like if most of the clients are going to be guys, maybe feel a little more weird wearing leggings just because they're really tight and like form fitting, but yeah. That also shouldn't really be an issue.
I see. Because I almost want to say that leggings are fine.
They're such a versatile piece of clothing. Like they like, for some reason, I feel like I never feel too hot in leggings, but they're also like warmer than short. Like if a breeze comes up or whatever, I feel like if I commit to shorts, then I like end up cold. So I feel like they're kind of a versatile piece of clothing.
Certainly. Yeah. And then they can kind of fit you. Because I know a lot of pants that, I don't have hip. Yeah. So somehow the Western design, they always think that women have these big hips. Yeah.
It's
so then it's just like, it doesn't, look flattering. It's not like I really care about it has to look good, but it just doesn't feel very comfortable.
Yeah, I feel like leggings fit a much wider range of bodies, and like that's another nice thing about them.
The reason I went into this lens talk about, because I teach SPI course, and that's one thing we teach is about professionalism.
And you're like with guides when they're first learning about professionalism. It's like their first intro.
Right, exactly. I just like, well, especially now, also with SPI, they have all sorts of different. The climbing community is just so wide and diverse right now.
Yeah.
So, why do we have to restrict their clothing?
Yeah.
If other people don't even find it relevant. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can accept that like doctor they need to have that for a real reason.
Yeah.
I don't know about guiding.
Yeah.
I think function.
I think function, and also like if you're. Like, I feel like the professionalism should come from you being a good guide, not from, like, exactly what you look like. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. You just mentioned you are right now mostly guide rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much Alpine guiding?
I do a couple Alpine trips a year at this point, but I definitely, like...
Is it more like glacial travel or...
It's still more like Alpine rock type things.
I see.
I used to do most guides when they start out in Washington, they start out on Rainier or Mount Baker.
Yeah, because that's because
like the bulk of the work. Yeah. And even once even once you get higher up in a company, you usually still have a couple Mount Baker trips a year. But a lot of the work in Washington is known for its alpine climbing. When people are coming from out of state to climb in Washington, it's usually for the alpine climbing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of companies, that's just the bulk of the work. And I kind of started to realize that, like, I mean, I think we were already wanting to be more in the day work scheme of things, and was starting to get a little tired of the like feeling like I was living out of a tent for the entire summer, and like, especially also Sam is also a guide, and like when we're both working it turns into a little bit of like a hi bye kind of situation when we were both working in the Alpine. So we definitely wanted to see each other as much, so we wanted to move more towards, like, I still love alpine climbing, but not doing it all the time for work, because then you get back and you're exhausted and you're like, I don't really want to climb, and I have to go back out an alpine guide in the next couple days, and it was just starting to get exhausting. And also, like, usually by the end of the season my like back and knees would kind of hurt, and luckily like fall I'd start rock climbing again, so it would like kind of have time to reset before the next summer. But you're like, wow, this is not sustainable.
Then what's your most often complaint about say the guiding related, well, not say injury but discomfort?
I mean, with alpine climbing, it was definitely more on the like, just like carrying a heavy pack, especially downhill. Like I almost would be like, yeah, I'll carry it like tons of weight on the uphill, don't mind that, but I'll give the clients the rope for the downhill because they only have to use their knees for this kind of thing a couple times a year, whereas like my knees,
what's the average
really
pack
struggle.
weight?
It was starting, like on Mount Baker, it was a lot heavier because a lot of the courses you go in, you'd be like hiking into Mount Baker for a couple days, and just a lot more like snow gear, and you had to have a sleeping bag rated to colder, just more kind of snow gear, which was a little heavier, whereas kind of getting into the more like alpine rocks. So then it was probably more like 50-ish pound, 45 to 50 pounds. And then getting into
a high ratio,
which is I had some trips where it was more like 60 or 70, which is kind of where you're like taking some weight from the clients because they can't carry it, and now you're like, I'm like this tiny person carrying all this weight to like make up for the fact that the clients can't carry it, but
so they will have
like wearing
impact
on your bodies,
hip and knees.
But a lot of the like kind of faster, shorter alpine missions, you can get your pack weight down a little bit more, which is nice.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, long time ago when I worked for Nose, and then they have huge pack.
Yeah.
And I quickly switched to do rock camp.
Yeah.
Because then we can even have coolers.
Yeah, and I mean, especially you're like, I'm working, like I can do this, I can carry the heavy packs, but it's like
every day.
Eventually
job,
you realize your body's like only going to be able to do that for so long.
Yeah, going more toward day trip because that's probably more sustainable.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, in the long time, especially you have a long guiding career.
And the other thing is like, when I was guiding a lot of Alpine stuff, on my off days, I wasn't excited to go Alpine climbing. Like, I wasn't going to go, you know.
I see.
And now it's like, oh, I'm like actually excited to go Alpine climbing on my personal days sometimes. And like, you know,
And so, are you thinking about getting a pin? Means like going into the ski discipline? And, it's not necessary, but I'm just saying that whether it's even in your planning.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth about it. When I first got into guiding, I was like, yes, like pin. Gotta hit the pin, gotta get there. And I think I still eventually want to get there. And especially, you know, as we kind of get a little bit more set up in Washington, kind of the only winter work is ski guiding.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be nice to have
some
options to be here a little more in the winter, but also, at least right now,
you're
excited about traveling. Exactly. It's like, right now I'm still pretty excited about traveling, but maybe at some point but yeah, I think at some point I was starting to feel like I was just forcing the skiing, like, and it like literally every time we went out skiing, it was like, okay, I have to do this because I have to be training to like go through this track that I don't even really know if I want to do. And at some point I was like, okay, I probably do want to get the pin at some point, but I'm like really excited about rock climbing right now. And if that's what I'm excited about, that's what I should be doing, kind of a thing.
True.
Yeah,
definitely.
And you know, I'm not the most amazing skier, and I would like to be a better skier to be a ski guide, you know, and also it's important for ski guiding to be a decent skier, and like would definitely need to put more time into skiing for those reasons. Yeah.
When did you start skiing?
I did start skiing very young, but it was the type of thing where it was like, you know, we went on like a couple ski trips a year.
But
I probably only skied like
ski.
Yeah. So I did at least have that, but it was definitely like 5 to 10 days a year of skiing, kind of a thing, since I was pretty young. But
for me, I always wondering. I'm not a very good skier, but and where I grew up in Taiwan, was no snow. I almost feel like it's impossible for me to be very free skiing in the mountains. But I mean, I should not say impossible, but I feel it's kind of difficult.
People definitely do it, but I've heard it's harder to learn as an adult and get into and that kind of a thing.
Because somehow I feel like rock climbing is easier when you are older. Like, even you start older. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So you agree with that?
Yeah.
So I'm saying that it's nice that you were exposed
have at
to
least some background.
Yeah.
And I worked for a ski instructor for a year, one winter, as kind of a way to get better. And that is actually a really good way to get better, because you like, a lot of times you're just teaching kids how to make it down a green run, kind of a thing. So like, you don't have to be that amazing of a skier, but then you basically get free lessons from all the like really experienced ski instructors. So it actually is a really great way to get better at skiing, and would probably do something like that again if I wanted to really get into skiing and ski guiding and get better.
You said that when you just got into guiding that you realized there's a lot of guys. And after that, does it bother you or affect you being a woman and a small woman in that industry? Yeah,
it was, I think, well, coming from engineering, I was always kind of used to being around a lot of guys and like that a lot of that part didn't bother me. And like kind of used to the like having to feeling like I have to prove myself kind of a thing. So I guess I was a little used to that, and that part didn't bother me, but I definitely like, especially my first season guiding, like I'm kind of a quiet person. I'm not like your classic, like super boisterous, like tells all these stories kind of guide. Like I am small and like more into the like deep conversations and like talking about, you know, the challenges of climbing and that kind of thing with clients. And I was like constantly told by the guide service I started working for that I was like too quiet and I was really small, and just like repeatedly told these things. And even like as I kind of started to go through a lot of the guide track and that kind of a thing, was like was basically repeatedly told those things.
Then did you push back?
I probably should have more. I you know, when I started guiding, I was like, oh, I guess that's what I have to be. I have to be like this, like, you know, this like loud guide and like what. And I've never had a client complain about me being quieter or like,
say, my guide doesn't talk to me.
Yeah. Like usually people are like excited to have like just more in-depth conversations or whatever.
It's not like you didn't talk
like,
to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we still, it's not like we're not talking and whatever.
You certainly
so
have
definitely
to communicate, yes.
Getting used to being more direct was something that I had to learn, of like, especially giving more direct like commands and that kind of a thing to people.
You mean your clients?
To clients, yeah. Exactly.
Just tell them what to do.
Yeah, like telling, like, that was definitely something I had to learn. But I think I did always get kind of frustrating by people repeatedly. Like, it was literally only guides that would tell me that I was kind of quiet, and I was like, this doesn't really seem to bother anyone else.
But did they work with you though? When they gave you this feedback, or just because you are quiet with them? Yeah,
it was usually on like AMGA kind of courses, or
you mean the feedback from the examiner, or
yeah, or from like
yeah, I got that too.
Yeah.
One time I said, Ting Ting, you need to talk more.
Yeah, and I think it's coming from it maybe is coming from a good place of like, oh, we want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
I think that's what they actually mean. And I think that's a better way of saying it. Like, oh, I value what you have to say. You should talk more, rather than being like, you're too quiet. Because when someone's like, you're too quiet, I just start getting in my head of like, then I just like even am more quiet because I'm like, you know, overthinking the fact that someone has just told me that I'm too quiet, kind of a thing. Yeah, that would actually be a much better way of saying it. Like, I value what you have to say and your thoughts on this, and you should feel comfortable speaking up about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then do you think being small affect you though?
I think it...
Because you said other people also mentioned that.
Yeah, I don't think it definitely affects, like, in some cases, the way that I guide. Yeah, like, you know, having to carry a much larger percentage of my body weight. It also makes a little difference, especially in Alpine guiding, when you're like, I feel like I would get people that was like, yeah, you can just belay the clients off your harness for this like kind of exposed move. And I'm like, yeah, I don't actually trust that my body weight is going to hold these two like 200-pound dudes. Like, it's like 400 pounds versus me. Like, I'm going to choose a terrain belay maybe, or some other kind of a more secure belay. Yes. Exactly. And I think there were definitely a couple times where I had people being like, oh, but like this is more efficient and like you should do it this way, and me being like, I don't feel comfortable with that. Like, I want to provide my clients proper security, and I'm gonna have to do something different than maybe someone bigger, and like, and you have to adjust, and you just, you know, figure out kind of what the style that works for you, you know. And you probably especially like descents in Red Rock, which are kind of somewhat Alpine in their like they require a lot of short roping and short pitching and that kind of thing. You probably have a similar experience.
I never really short rope in the most strict sense. I usually just terrain belay.
Exactly. I'm definitely more cautious what I short rope as well. Because
I think short rope is like you're so close, and And I need to have a very good footing. I think in Red Rock, I don't really see a whole lot of places.
Yeah. I think it was actually really valuable on my Alpine guide course. They did have us both practice holding falls on while short roping on rock. Yes. Yeah, like backed up, obviously, but like, yeah. And then also on snow. And I was pretty impressed by how much I could hold on snow, but definitely was like, yeah, I'm going to have to do something a little different on rock because, you know, there have been guides that died because their clients fell while they were short roping. And
yeah,
I would hopefully.
Right. I mean, it's all like application, right? You choose, you know that you can do it correctly and you feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think especially some of the AMGA instructors are starting to get better at recognizing those differences in body types of like some people are going to have to do guides slightly differently. Yeah. And like,
I mean, the protection is the belay is a spectrum.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's not one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's why short roping, managed third, fourth class terrain is hard. Yeah, because for me, I think about being smaller. I just think about other than carry heavy pack and just hauling on a big wall.
Oh yes, hauling on a. I know. Yeah, I am really not. That is not my strong suit in hauling. I'm very good. I do have the advantage of on sketchy gear aid placements. Nice. You know, I weigh a little less, so maybe they're less likely to rip out. But definitely the hauling thing, I've had to get. We actually have a pretty good 2-to-1 setup, and I usually have to haul on that. And it is kind of I get frustrated by it for sure because I'm like, this is literally not something that I'm doing my best, and it's not something that I can change. But yeah, I definitely hauling on big walls is something I've had to learn, and also sometimes a bit of a struggle and a bit frustrating.
The great thing is you probably don't guide a lot of those terrain.
Yes, no, that's less guiding related, more climbing related.
Because for me, it's in terms of guiding, just the heavy pack weight is higher ratio of your body weight, and potentially you have to change different skills for protection. But I think you're doing for 6 years, you're totally fine. So,
I'm still excited about it, and I think it does help kind of trying, and I'm constantly evolving on this, but trying to find a little bit of a balance between I think people, especially because guiding doesn't pay super well, they feel like they have to work a lot and then get kind of burnt out on it. And trying to find a balance between that, but also it means I've lived out of a vehicle for a long time to be able to do that.
Definitely. So I think you are making smart decisions, right? Because if you want to do it for a long time, our body is an asset, right? Yes. So you need to tread lightly on your body.
Yeah, for sure.
Overdo it.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, you talk to so many guides that have been guiding for a long time and are starting to have various
at some point they will have injuries, right? And I think injury probably they say is kind of a normal part of the thing. It's just one day or sometime you will have an injury.
But then also a lot of times then if you're injured, you can't work, which is hard.
Which is scary. So people say then they can have. What about you? Have you ever have experience being injured and have to be off work for a while?
Nothing too bad. I luckily it was a year or two ago where I was kind of having I had a weird tweaky shoulder thing, and belaying in particular hurt. Right. And luckily I only had a couple trips scheduled in Red Rock at that point, and I had to cancel them. And I actually ended up coming back to Washington to do PT and kind of got through that quickly. So luckily that was the only thing. But
And have you thought about more on the thing potentially is there will be a backup
plan?
For example, if I can't work for say 6 months, and that'll be a long time.
No, I have
Okay.
yeah, that's definitely a hard and scary thing about guiding. And
Right.
like
Yeah.
maybe I could go back to engineering, but it's been a long time since I was an engineer, and it would probably be kind of hard to get back into it.
But it's just 6 months. I'm not trying to say
Yeah. For like really injured. Yeah, no, I don't.
I mean, I
You know,
bet
you
if
probably
you figure out a way
yeah.
if you really can't
Figure out
guide
something
anymore.
else.
But
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of guys, they either buy disability insurance or they take out some administrative work if they work for a guide service.
Yeah. It might look more like taking on some administrative work, or actually probably disability insurance is a smart thing to get. But yeah, I feel like there are a lot of guides that are like, oh, I have to be guiding like the raddest things when I'm working. And you're like, no, I just want to guide like chill things that don't hurt my body too much. And then I can go climb rad things on my own time. But like, I don't want like a lot of the like slightly more dangerous work. It's like, I'm not that interested in that kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is totally, I mean, you can guide all sorts of different things. And especially, I mean, I'm on the same page with you. The skill work, I really enjoy teaching people skills. There's also a little bit less risk management.
Exactly.
Certainly, yeah, at this point, it seems that that's my observation. Can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, I would say you're relatively new to guiding.
Yeah.
But then you figure out, I think you hit a lot of point really great. Just like, okay, this is what I like, and then you choose what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you also venture out to have your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you will decide in the next, I don't know how many years, and see which direction, which pivot point you might have the next turn.
Yeah. And it's definitely like continuously like trying out one thing and being like, okay, I didn't really like that very much, or it meant like, I was really burnt out or whatever, and then trying something else and be like, okay, that works a little bit better. How can I adjust, whatever this part of guiding to really make it sustainable? Because, I mean, I do love guiding. Like, I would like to do it for a long time, but...
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like if it's a profession, you should figure out a way. There should be a way to do it sustainably.
Yes, yeah. And like you were saying, like, to progress, and like, I mean, it would be nice if there was some kind of like milestone you can kind of achieve.
Yeah, I think that would be a little hard. But it's nice we just keep brainstorming about that.
And I think it will help guiding even just does become more known by the public, and like with scope of practice and like all these things, hopefully it will become more and more professional, and then become more sustainable.
And one last question here. So you were saying that when you were working for other guide services, and then you might got comments from fellow guides about you. Do you find in that environment, did you have similar role, like some role model that you feel like, oh, it's like me, I can be like that, or mentors that kind of help you go through all these things?
Let's see, role model wise, I mean, even though there are not very many women in guiding, there are plenty of small women, and like, being like and being like, oh, like they're, people have definitely made it through this track as a woman before, like, so definitely having plenty of people who have kind of paved the way. Mentorship wise, I definitely, the couple of guides that I shadowed or kind of followed when they were training for their Alpine exams, that was Kike, JB, and Tim, was really, really valuable and instrumental in my like guiding career, of just like hearing from their experiences and learning from them. And I'm really grateful that they let me kind of join in on that. And like, mentorship and guiding is definitely really important, and it doesn't necessarily happen at every company as a newer guide. a lot of times, sometimes you're just working with people who have only been doing it a year or two longer. So like getting to hopefully pass that along would be nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Cool. Yeah, I mean, especially like this podcast, I interview like different women, and hopefully they can be like, including you included, be later comers role models.
Yeah.
If people want to find you, what's the best way?
My Instagram is goats on ropes.
Goats on ropes. Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to come up with something fun, and goats on ropes. I don't know. Mountain goats don't
have to be on ropes.
They don't have to be on ropes. It's true. But mountain goats are such good climbers. Like I aspire to be like a mountain goat. You know.
So it's you. You want to be a mountain
and then
goat,
our business is the climbing school. So on Instagram we're the climbing school, and then our email is theclimbing_school@gmail.com, and our website is actually theclimbingguides.com because that was available.
So the climbing school is not available.
Well, it was really expensive.
Okay.
For some reason that domain was really expensive and the climbingguides.com was not. So
I'm not curious, like, so the climbing school is a little bit a generic name,
yeah.
Right? So how did you come up with this?
We didn't want to be associated with a location. I think that was a big thing. There are a lot of guide services that are like
Jackson Hole.
Jackson Hole Mountain Guide. I mean, they actually changed to be the Mountain Guides, I think, because they also didn't want to be associated with a location. And then, but there's like Sierra Mountain Guides or whatever.
Or Northwest Mountain School.
Yeah, or Northwest Mountain. So we didn't want to be associated with a location. And then a lot of like the kind of like climbing related, I don't know, theme names or whatever have already been taken.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. Peak or like.
Oh, okay. I see.
I'm trying to think of other like kind of.
Or Summit.
Summit. Yeah. Like kind of like those types of things. And we were kind of just like eventually like, well, the climbing school hasn't been taken. Like, I guess, we did a whole like brainstorming kind of thing. We were like, well, that hasn't been taken. So that was kind of the best. Yeah.
Right.
It is a little funny.
Climbing
but
school.
I mean, that's most of what we do is course kind of thing. So I want it to be. Yeah.
So is that also the favorite part of guiding that Sam likes to do?
Yeah. Sam also really likes courses. Sam is also an amazing instructor. Like I just like have worked with him on other courses, and he's very good at teaching. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I mean, I do see a lot of courses on your website. Yeah. And usually when you do big wall course, how many days is that?
It's usually 4 days. A lot of big wall courses are 2 days. Mm-hmm. And I really don't like, it's kind of enough to teach someone how to like get up a bolt ladder and like kind of understand what hauling and jugging are.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's like, and I understand like it's way cheaper to only have a 2-day course, but big wall is like, there's so much that goes on in big wall aid climbing of like.
So do you do it 2 weekends or you're consecutive?
Usually it's a consecutive 4 days. Yeah. And even that feels a little rushed, but it's like, I mean, it's much longer than that would be hard to get people to sign up for. Mm-hmm. But I think it allows a lot more time for practice and application of the skills, and you actually get to sleep in a portaledge.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because I teach big wall class before, not a whole lot, but I actually experiment with two of my return students. They took intro to track with me all the way to big wall.
Oh, nice.
So I just like, okay, I'll be here to you 2 days, and you go practice. Yeah. And then you come back for another 2 days. Yeah. But those are more like a private guiding basis, so it's easy.
Well, that's actually kind of nice. Yeah, to like when people have a chance to actually practice the skills and then come back. Because
it's a lot of practice.
I mean, even just learning to trad climb is a lot of information for people to take in and like,
Great.
Yeah. And I usually always say, like, if you have any questions, or, you know, like, this was a lot of information, and, like,
Right.
you know, I'm happy to be a resource and that kind of a thing.
True. Yeah.
Afterwards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Lani, for
Thank you.
lending this space. Yeah, I hope your business will thrive.
Thank you.
Just grow to the size that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am really excited about this podcast too. I think it's providing a lot of valuable information to people who are interested.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right.